Good morning. Day 20 day. Well, look, I'm already starting off. It's your girl Duchess starting off on day 129. Let's hope today is more eventful than yesterday. We got maybe a good 3 hours of court, even though we were here almost all day. So let's see how things go today. And what witnesses they have for us. Let's go.
Jury back yet. So I guess it'll be Monday before we continue with witness testimony. However, I'm hopeful that we can get through some further evidentiary issues today. And I know we can at least finish going through the last 12 pages or so of the exhibit and witness list. And beyond that, I don't know whether anybody's ready with any of the other issues that we were going to get to at some point or not. So y'all just kind of have to let me know. Oh, sorry, y'all. When they tell me we're ready, and that everybody's here, I guess I should stop and actually look. Okay. Well.
These mushrooms make you feel better. They increase focus and energy while keeping you calm and stress-free. Plus, they cut down on bloat and heal your gut.
Oh, I didn't even know I wasn't muted. Let me get myself together here. I guess it's gonna be Monday.
Didn't know
It's
you weren't
Monday.
here.
The witnesses. The
Came in
state
because
don't
they
have
said
any
everybody's
witnesses
ready.
yet.
All right, so if y'all can give me an assessment of what we're ready to discuss, and if you think it's going to carry us through the full day or not.
Good morning, Your Honor. Simone
Morning.
Hilton for the state. Given the instructions that we received on Wednesday, we're working through reducing the wiretap. We're working through the research on the case law that's due on Monday.
Okay.
But we are ready to go through the exhibits for the remaining witnesses from 61 all the way to the end. I believe that Dropbox was served approximately 2 weeks ago. I'll pull up the exact date in which it was served. And so we're ready to move forward. I don't know if that will carry us through the entirety of the day, but it is about 40-something witnesses that we could go through.
All right. And on the defense side, anybody have anything in particular that you're thinking today would be a good day to discuss?
Myself and Attorney Steele talked about this last night, and the only thing that we were thinking about was the wiretap, but it sounds like we're going to wait for the state to try to pare it down before we tackle that. So I think that's all we have.
Okay.
Salvo court is open. I know I challenged the jail call of Mr. And by the way, good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, everyone. Arnold on January 10th, 2015. And there's some, I believe, on the next day that the state may seek to admit. And a lot of it is, in my opinion, irrelevant. I don't know if we're going to listen to those calls for this honorable court to pare down, or if the state should get together. But there's a lot of talk about food and girls and things like that. In addition, and I'm not saying, you were interested, and I didn't say anything about Miss Morton being supposedly at the Texaco on the on the recording and you said, oh, that may be enough for a conspiracy. I don't believe it is. I'd like to talk about that. But if you admit that, does your honorable court understand OCGA 24-1-106? So if that recording comes in, well, then I'm asking for guidance. So if that recording comes in, and if Miss Morton is not a witness, the state spoke with her, they put it before a grand jury, and they had a court reporter, and they did audio recordings with her at her probation officer's office. And under the rule of completeness, it is, you know, on that recording, it may be something that the state thinks is interesting to the jury, but it would be totally misleading if they're saying Mr. Williams is at that McDonald's. So my point is, another recording, another transcript, sworn testimony for this uncalled witness, I would seek to introduce through cross-examination of Mr. Sprinkle. He was at both of those places, and I believe that I would be able to get it in under 24-1-106. So I say that just because that's another issue if you want to do that.
Okay, so the other recording is an entirely different time?
Date, time, location, absolutely. And there's two, like I said, one's grand jury sworn testimony and one's probation officer.
So my understanding of 106 is that it's if a part of one recording comes in, then in fairness, if the other party seeks to introduce the redacted or unintroduced part of the same recording in order for it to give a complete picture, that can occur. But I don't know that that means an entirely separate recording from an entirely separate date with entirely separate people communicating. So if you have law that indicates that, then I'll consider that.
So it's OCGA 24-1-106, I'm quoting. When a writing or recorded statement or part thereof is introduced by a party, an adverse party may require the introduction at that time of any of any other part or any other writing recorded statement, which in fairness should be considered contemporaneously.
All right.
So if I'm reading that wrong, I apologize. But
those are the words, then you might have a good argument.
okay, I just want to bring that up since you're asking for issues.
All right. And is the state, I haven't heard the contents of that phone call yet anyway.
You're right. I think that we can discuss with Mr. Steele the parts that he's discussing. I believe that we can come to an agreement on what is not, the parts that are not relevant in that phone call. And if we can't come to an agreement, we can bring it to the court. But I think it's something that we can.
Okay, well, I don't know that his objection is simply relevance. I think he has a relevance objection to parts of it, but he's saying other parts of it, if there is something potentially misleading and there are other recordings that establish, that, it actually mean what it sounds like it means, then he would seek to introduce those other things that would clarify that.
Yeah, so my understanding, if it's the call that I am thinking of, and if it's the call that was discussed yesterday, and I would need to listen to it again, I believe there's an inference as to Mr. Kendrick. I believe that in that call, and if it's the same call, and I'll need to just confirm that Mr. Bradford or Mr. Arnold calls Mr. Bradford while he's in custody. And at a portion, Mr. Bradford is with Bushi. Mr. Arnold asked Mr. Bradford, where is Yak? And Mr. Arnold responds, we're waiting for him. Mr. Bradford or Bushi, Ms. Morton says, we're waiting for him. And they were talking about Yak Gotti. So I don't know I will need to listen again and see if there's any other reference to Mr. Williams, and I will listen again to make sure. But my understanding is, and if this is the call that that was discussed yesterday,
Yeah.
then I need to listen again and see if there's a reference to Mr. Williams and being at the McDonald's, because my understanding is of the call is a little different, which is the only
Okay, well,
reference is Mr.
Then y'all just
Kendrick.
take another listen to it and get together on that.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and y'all can present what you, if you resolve, great. If not, we'll present whatever the issue is after y'all both had an opportunity to listen to that. And if necessary, whatever part of the grand jury recording might then be relevant.
And excuse me, Your Honor, and I apologize, since I wasn't here yesterday. Are we still litigating whether that call comes in?
Yes, we haven't made any kind of determination about that.
Okay,
In fact, Mr. Howell, I think, asked that we hold off until you were present. So we just sort of, mapped out broadly what the issues might be, but we haven't listened to the call or made any kind of
Okay.
determinations about it.
thank you, Your
And it
Honor.
sounds like we'll hold off on that for a little while anyway, and it may or may not end up being necessary to litigate anything about it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so do we think I guess the Dropbox with the evidence is on witnesses 31 through 60 is that going to track sort of this witness chart that we were going through yesterday?
It should be, Your Honor. I thought, if my memory served me correctly, that we finished up to 60. We had completed
I thought
60.
we had two.
We did. We completed 60 and we were at the
Yeah.
final group. Yes,
Yes.
Your Honor.
Okay, so, all right, so we were kind of using this chart yesterday. So to determine, okay, are there things that we need to litigate? So if we're
Yes,
going
Your
to
Honor.
just continue along with that, and then if there are things we need to litigate, then we'll jump to that Dropbox link and pull up that evidence. Is that the
Yes,
suggestion?
yes, Your Honor. And I'm searching to see the date that we sent the Dropbox link so everyone can find it.
No, I'm sorry. That's the one
No.
that you guys edited.
Yeah, I think it might be August 27th, but I just want to. Yes, it's going to be on August 20th.
Hitting the road this summer? With Adobe Lightroom, make your photos look exactly the way you want from anywhere. And with Generative Remove, you can swipe away anything trying to steal your shine. Don't forget to add Lightroom to your summer must-haves.
Oh yeah, it should be August 26th, and we sent it around 11:42 p.m. And if it's not, let me make sure. Okay, I don't think that's the right one. Your Honor.
One I have is
Avenger videos is what the reline is? Is that what you said?
the one that was in the.
Of course you don't.
Oh, yeah, she was saying she didn't think it was the right one either. His thing is to just resend it.
I can't find the email, but I'm just going to resend the link right now.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay. I just sent it, so it should be coming soon. Yes, yes.
Ms. Hilton, it looks like it needs a password and that wasn't in what you sent me just now.
Okay, hold on.
I don't think it's in what you sent anybody. Because Ms. Persfield just forwarded what you sent. So I think we'll all need that as well.
All right, hold on. My Dropbox link savviness isn't. Okay, I'm going to resend it. I found the email. The email was sent on the 30th. I believe the link will be in this email that I'm about to forward to everyone.
And the password.
And the password.
Okay. All right, everybody's about to get a different email that'll have the password also.
I just forwarded you.
Okay, this starts with Adrian Ansart.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Is everybody in there now? Does everybody have the Dropbox link up?
As an Army veteran and former prosecutor, I've worked with law enforcement to take violent criminals off our streets. I'm running for Attorney General to keep you and your family safe. How am I doing?
Vote for my dad.
Firehouse Subs, Hook and Ladder jingle, take one.
Hook and ladder, when it's hot.
Okay. All right, so number 52 is Miss Ansart. She's going to be the records custodian for the Instagram records for a couple of the co-defendants and issues we need to litigate with her.
And Your Honor, I'll say 52 and 53, we already litigated, and the reason why it's in this folder is to be consistent with this document. So we looked at Sergeant Matthew John Pierre's folder,
Okay, great.
as well as Ansart's folder.
All right. So moving on to 54. Anything?
So we're just getting caught up.
So I can confirm we're all on the same, we're looking at social media or pictures of Mr. B.
No, because 52 and 53 are already folders that we've already gone through last week. So Sergeant Matthew John Pierre, these are the same videos we talked about, I think, earlier this week as well, where we went through the timestamps of the video. So we already talked through this folder. It's a duplicate folder. So we really should be on 54.
All right, so if everybody will open folder 54 for Officer Rogers and tell me whether there are any issues in the evidence contained within that folder.
Your Honor,
Yes.
may I ask the purpose of the medical records? I think there are pages 1 through 108, I believe, or maybe 5 through 108.
Yeah, we might not get into the medical records. We probably won't get into the medical records, but because they are Officer Rogers records, we included them in the folder. We believe his testimony will be sufficient. We don't intend on calling a doctor. However, we just included it within the folder because it related to Officer Rogers.
Okay, so those, you probably wouldn't tender those anyway, and if you did, they most likely would not go out to the jury.
Yes, Your
and
Honor.
probably wouldn't be displayed. Okay, is that sufficient?
Okay, and looks like there's probably about 3 hours of body cam. My understanding of the body cam is at least a portion of it contains the actual altercation between Officer Rogers and Mr. Eppinger, which I understand, but is there any other purpose of the body cam that they would be seeking to introduce in this case, or the state would be introducing in this case?
So the portion of the various body cams that the state intends to introduce, one, yes, the interaction between Officer Rogers and Mr. Eppinger, then portion of the interaction between Sergeant Johnson and Mr. Eppinger, and then a portion of the apprehension of Mr. Eppinger. But that probably in total is less than an hour. I would think if it totals 30 minutes, but it's probably only about an hour total of all the different body cams in this case.
At some point, can we just get the times that you're seeking to introduce?
Do you have those now?
I don't have them now, but it's quickly for me to get them. If not by the end of the day, I can definitely get it to them by early next week. The various timestamps and the various body cam videos.
Okay. All right, so you'll get them the timestamps so that they'll know if they feel like that's the reasonable and relevant portions or something more than that. All right. And then I guess the same with whatever the other medical record is.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
And if we're moving on to the next voter, Sergeant Erin Brown, she is only bringing in Officer Rogers' body cam as a custodian of records, given the trauma of the incident. Officer Rogers, we're not going to bring the video in through Officer Rogers, but through Sergeant Brown. So that's what her folder would entail, which would be the body cam video.
All right, so on to Sergeant Johnson then. What all is this?
So that is the overall surveillance video of the entirety of the interaction with Mr. Eppinger and both Officer Rogers and Sergeant Johnson that's not captured on body cam video.
All right, and so we'd only be watching whatever parts we wouldn't have otherwise seen.
Yes, Your Honor, and we'll get those timestamps as well.
All right, McKessie, is that how you say that person's name? McKessie.
And he falls into the same category with the body cam. He's that last portion that I referenced, and so we'll get the relevant timestamps.
I'm confused. What's he doing that?
So he was a part of the apprehension team. So once Officer Rogers was shot, he was taken to the hospital by other officers.
Yeah.
And so later when they went to get Mr. Eppinger, McKessie's involved in that portion of the video.
So under the Rogers folder, the part that you said was the apprehension of Eppinger, that's not actually, whose body cam is that, or what is that? Or is it the same thing, just under two separate witnesses?
I'm Richard Hudson, and I approve this message.
Congressman Richard Hudson, wonderful warrior.
President.
I mean, you had mentioned with the Rogers file, the interaction with Eppinger, Johnson's interaction with Eppinger, and then the apprehension of Eppinger. So is that actually going to be coming in through McKessie, the apprehension part?
The apprehension part is coming through McKessie, but what we've done is all of the body cams are in one evidence.com folder. And so
all right, so, but that's the same thing in two different
different
places.
folders.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so you'll get us those timestamps. All right, then we move to Captain Wofford. And what's this about?
So Captain Wofford. Yes, okay. That is the surveillance video for the stabbing of Mr. Rayshawn Bennett. And it shows the entirety of that interaction between Mr. Myrick and Mr. Bennett.
When you say surveillance, I'm seeing, correct me if I'm wrong, Captain Wofford is the gentleman who came in. Captain Wofford is a gentleman who came into the pod after the altercation and was wearing the body cam.
Yes, but he's also able to serve as the custodian of the Pelco system, which is the jail surveillance system.
Okay, but the in this folder, the Axon stuff, that's Captain Wofford's.
Yes.
Okay, and so we'll make sure that you will make sure that this is not cumulative.
Yes, Your Honor, because the body cam video is only once the stabbing occurred. The
Okay.
surveillance shows everything leading up to the stabbing.
Okay.
And Your Honor, my other concern now, I'm going off of my prior review of this. My recollection and at this point, my understanding certainly is Mr. Bennett is not testifying in this case. So I just think we have to, and I'm going to ask the state to make sure that anything that they seek to introduce to these body cams does not contain testimonial statements concerning the events that had occurred.
Yes, I think what's on the video, we would argue be excited utterances because it's a lot of once he was stabbed. I don't believe he made any statements to the police regarding who did it. And so our intentions would not be to introduce anything like that. It'll be primarily once he's apprehended, more of the excited utterances and present sense impression of Mr. Bennett at that time.
All right, well, so I guess you need to make sure of that.
Right, I don't.
And it may be that you think it's one thing and they think it's another. So we might need a little more specificity about what's coming in.
I don't recall him saying too much, but he was definitely being spoken to and asked questions by law enforcement about what happened. So anything he said from our stance would be testimonial. But I don't recall at this time him making any statements. But
Your Honor, we can look at it and talk about it and see if we can come to an agreement. And if not, we can bring it to the court's attention. But I think it's something that we could resolve short of having to have the court intervention.
Okay. I mean, these things like the disciplinary hearing dispositions and things, those are just in there because maybe somebody might need to refresh their recollection about them or something. I mean,
yes, Your Honor, these aren't things we intend to introduce, especially if Mr. Bennett is not going to testify. If he ends up, then that'll be a different story for a different day. But
all right, well, the defense, y'all have had this evidence in this format under these witness folders for a while now. So it's also incumbent upon y'all to take a look at it and be prepared to say, well, there's, absolutely no way evidentially that XYZ should come in if that's what you think. But yeah, it would be helpful for us to not have to litigate stuff that the state doesn't really intend to put in to.
Your Honor, I would.
Yeah.
So there's a surveillance video, as you know, and then a body camera, the law enforcement comes in thereafter. Anything outside of that at this point, I would be objecting to. It's my strong memory that Mr. Bennett did not make any statements to law enforcement. If he did, it's confrontation clause if he doesn't testify. So anything other than those two items, I would be objecting, if that helps.
All right, so Ms. Hilton, take a look, and if you think there are some statements that are shown on any of that body cam of Mr. Bennett that you believe come in as, a cited utterance or present sense impression, then, and you intend to introduce them, then you can maybe call that to our attention and we can make a decision on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Where are we now? All right, someone, have we already?
I don't believe we did.
Okay. So if the defense, y'all kind of seem to be, I don't know if y'all are, I don't want us to be doing a real-time evaluation of this amount of evidence. If we're ready to litigate these things, great. But if we're not, y'all just let me know that.
I've reviewed the wiretap from Mr. Sumlin, but I have not reviewed specifically what the state has pulled out, so I need to do that.
Okay. Is that kind of true for everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Could I ask one question?
Yes.
In this folder that appears to be a bunch of audio files, the first folder under Sumlin, am I correct in my belief that that is all the calls from the wiretap that you all seek to introduce at this time?
No, so these are the calls from the wiretap, primarily looking at the ones that we identified for the co-conspirator statement. So some of these will probably be reduced by the co-conspirator statements once we reduce those as well. But this is just a duplicate of that folder.
Understood. So it may shrink.
Yes. And we would have identified all the Sumlin calls once we finish with the co-conspirator analysis.
When are you going to finish that?
That's what we're working on, that the court asks us to have a reduced list by next week.
Okay. So do y'all maybe want to take today to work together and or separately on a whole lot more of this stuff? Okay.
Yes, I think that would be beneficial, Your Honor, and
All right.
productive.
All right, so I don't want y'all to leave and go home and do something else. I want y'all to stay here and work, okay?
Yes.
All right,
Stay in the
so,
courtroom, or can we stay in our office and
you
work?
know, I mean, whatever is easier. If it's easier to sit here together and say, you know, things like you've been saying. So, hey, I'm looking at this. Is this what it is? And is this going to be the entirety of it? Or are you going to narrow it down, or what are the timestamps? I mean, it might be a good idea to just sort of, and the defendants can go back, but the attorneys sort of, you know, review evidence together. Yes.
Okay. Maybe my colleagues are gonna throw some tomatoes at me, but if the defense attorneys could maybe take a certain amount of time in our little side office and go through, and then maybe either all of us or some representatives could meet with the state at some point today and discuss where we're at. But as I understand it, the information that we would be reviewing on our own would be the contents of this Dropbox minus the wiretap stuff.
Yes, that's fair. Yes.
And we're not going to watch as a group that all the Axon folders. We're going to wait for you all to give us direction on the timestamps on the body cam stuff.
Yes.
All right, and I don't mean just this folder. I mean folders, you know, whatever this is, 52 through 103.
I meant the Dropbox.
Yes.
The entire Dropbox.
Okay, yeah. And to the extent, I mean, we didn't have the Dropbox for 31 through 60 up yesterday when we were walking through those witnesses. We were doing something more general than that. But when y'all get through all of this through 103, if you want to jump back and just make sure we covered everything on those others, you know, do that as well. But then I think maybe the next time we get together, it'll be more productive. Okay, so I'm gonna adjourn us from our trial for the day, and the defendants can be returned unless y'all feel like you need them. But it doesn't, this seems more like attorney work to me. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong.
Your Honor, after consulting with my colleagues, I think we are okay. We are fine with if just the attorneys remain and the
Okay.
clients are allowed to return
Okay,
back.
all right, so let's do that. And then today's Friday, so we will reconvene, let's say, Monday at 8:45. All right, and y'all spend the day being productive and with your unexpected extra time. All right, you're welcome. And so will we be able to leave?
Wow. I am so disappointed. I have to be honest. I am disappointed. I don't know how we're here. I mean, we basically saw Moontoon, the 911 operator custodian person, and the Infinity car rental person, and the lady who was Grace in the drive-by. So it sounds like that they have moved away from I understand now why they were fighting tooth and nail about Kenneth, well, more than tooth and nail, but about Kenneth Copeland and his testimony, and Montun's had the shaky dealings in it, because now we're getting into, you know, I mean, they're into stuff about what happened in jail after they were already arrested, just to kind of keep building on the case. So I think we're past all of the, mistrial, all of that drama, because they're getting, basically, the state is being forced to produce what they plan to introduce before, they get in front of the jury. So I'll be interested to see how this kind of plays out. I'm gonna come back Monday. I'm actually leaning towards giving this a couple days and letting it flush out, because it's really not a good use of my time or any of our time to just kind of. It felt like watching paint dry yesterday, and I expected some witnesses today. So I'll be back Monday for sure at 11:30 to see if the state has drummed up some witnesses, because it looks like they're looking for people to testify. Like, some people may just be backing out. The robbery guy, I know we heard about him. Um, and that piece, we went through a lot of jail calls and that kind of thing when they were in that 2 week, that 2 weeks of non-jury time. And so whoever it was that was supposed to show after the lady who testified yesterday, that person obviously didn't come. And it's another person. I know it's the robbery person. They have a couple of witnesses that have the well, quite a few, at least probably about 5 to 6, I'm guessing, but I know at least 4 that has the plea deals, because there were quite a few that did plea deals. But it looks like the case put their best foot for the state put their best foot forward first. How explosive Kenneth Copeland is, and all the drama around that. Moontung should have been an easy slam and dunk kind of thing, but he was more challenging. They have a witness that they were talking about yesterday that's another plea deal witness, and she didn't really know what he would say on the stand kind of thing. So it looks like this case is crumbling, but I don't want to be too presumptuous. um I am We'll be back Monday, and I'll see how things go Monday, and after Monday we'll just kind of, you know I'm leaning towards giving it a few days to kind of see what flushes out, so I can focus on some of the other things that I'm working on. It sounds like the meat of it has happened, and that's so disappointing. Okay, let's look at some comments. Thank you. You too, Amy. I can't wait till tomorrow so I can just watch football and snack and drink all day. Um, but I this is like the best season of all time, so I'm really excited about that. It is so bad. It's so bad. They've kind of pieced together. It's becoming obvious that they're piecing things together, that they plan to float some things in there, and the state and the judge is kind of onto it. And it even looks like folks are backing out. So anyway, I'll be back Monday. We'll see what we have on Monday, and we'll go from there. I appreciate you tuning in. We got a whole lot of nothing, but we've only been here for an hour, so it's not so bad. Anyway, I will see you guys on Monday. Let's say some prayers for what's her name? Love, that she gets some people to actually show up to the stand. Okay? All right. Talk to you guys soon. See you Monday. Thank you.